Hello everybody, Stephen Howson, Full-Time Devils. It's time for another preview. We've got FA Cup this weekend. We are playing Yeovil, and today to talk about that I am joined by the artist formerly known as United Rantcast on Twitter, and he's now deactivated but he's still sort of there, so welcome Paul.
Hello.
We've also got John Shin, and we have got the Dave of the Statman variety. How's it going, fellas?
Excellent.
What's going on?
We signed Alexis Sanchez this week. And that's obviously what we're going to talk about. The first thing we are going to talk about is Alexis Sanchez. Arsenal carefully, deliberately, and thankfully left him out of their FA Cup squad so they could get beat off Nottingham Forest and concentrate on getting beat in the League Cup, which is nice of them. So that gives us the option to start him this weekend. His debut could be against Yeovil. Paul, is that where you'd like to see him make his debut? Will that be where he makes his debut?
I went back and forth on this, and in the end I decided actually I think he probably will, because he's played quite a lot this season. He's clearly in fine shape. I guess mentally he's been through a lot in the last couple of weeks, but the starting him in a game like this, it's actually a really low pressure environment to start him in, because our next game is away at Tottenham, and we're going to want Sanchez to play in that game because obviously it's one of our bigger games this season, and so having him with a game under his belt by that point makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him get 60 minutes against Yeovil, or maybe even 30 minutes at the end against Yeovil.
John, how much of an upgrade is this on Mkhitaryan, do you think?
I think in terms of quality, we do have a massive upgrade. And by no means am I sitting here saying that Mkhitaryan was a terrible player. As a matter of fact, he's a fantastic player. It just didn't seem to work out at Manchester United. But given his quality, at the end of the day, Alexis Sanchez is an absolutely fantastic player. And he'll be an upgrade. It'll be hard for him to not be an upgrade across any teams in Europe's top 5 leagues. So, I mean, adding him to sort of give us another extra level of edge going forward is a massive boost. And, you know, you can play him across anywhere to have him sort of be a benefit. So I'm very excited to have him.
David, put your neck on the line. He's going to play on Friday night against Yeovil.
I want him to start, but I think he'll be off. I think it'll be 30 minutes off the bench. I think it'll be to maybe pick United up. We've seen United over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years go to these sort of tough away games in the FA Cup, in the League Cup. And sort of sometimes they struggle. So having the impact of someone like Alexis Sanchez to come off the bench, I think that's what Mourinho would do. I'd start him. I think he needs to play as many minutes as possible before the game against Tottenham, because that is a huge game in terms of like the race for top 4, the race for second place in the Premier League, even putting pressure on Manchester City. Beating someone like Pochettino's Spurs would be sort of a momentum builder. And United are getting a bit of momentum. I think the whole video and everything around the Sanchez transfer has been fantastic. United have handled that so well. And I just think that we just need to continue this momentum. So even starting Alexis Sanchez, just for the hype, the sheer hype, and then taking him off after 70, 80 minutes if he's looking a bit tired. But then the thing with Sanchez is he never looks tired. He always wants to play. So I think even looking back, just thinking about this right now, I think Mourinho will start him just because of the whole thing around the club and the positivity that's sort of through the veins at the moment. We've seen a little bit of negativity after the City defeat and over Christmas. We couldn't finish teams off. But right now, Alexis Sanchez, Manchester United, we're about to win the Champions League at the moment.
Is everybody just got in a viral video?
Is everybody utterly convinced that Sanchez is going to be a success at United? Because we've been excited about big transfers a great deal since the summer of 2014.
Don't do it.
There's been numerous huge hyped transfers, and only a couple of them have really stuck. So I've got a bit burned about being like incredibly buzzing, oh my goodness, United are back because we've signed a big name player. I'm not saying I don't think it'll be a success, because I think on balance he's probably going to work out with Mourinho and probably going to add some needed cutting edge to our attack. But actually, if you look at the profile of player that United were missing, once again, I'm not 100% convinced that Sanchez was the profile of player that United were missing. I mean, in terms of player type rather than player quality, because clearly, as John said, it would be very hard there's only a handful of teams and really only a handful of positions in world football that Sanchez is, in an attacking sense, Sanchez isn't an upgrade on. So he's an excellent player, but I'm waiting to be certain before starting to say he's going to win us the Champions League.
But in a way, it's quite interesting that the previous big signings have all come from, Europe's top 5 leagues, the likes of Di Maria or Falcao.
Apologies, everybody. It crashed a little bit then. So, Dave, you were saying?
I think it's quite interesting, the signings United have brought in, the high-profile guys, the likes of Di Maria, the likes of Falcao, that have come from other leagues. I think Sanchez is more Premier League ready. Obviously, he's been playing for Arsenal for the last 4 seasons, been really, really effective in a number of positions. His best position for United, where he wants to play, it could be anywhere. And I think it's quite interesting. It's a good debate at the moment. I did a video on Full-Time Devils, which you can check out, obviously, after this preview. And you'll see where I think he should play. But I think he's a great signing. I think it's a different signing, a different high-profile player, and a player that's got enough quality to fit in wherever at Manchester United.
And there's still time for you lot to get involved and really help this transfer be a big transfer and be a successful transfer. Tweet Michael Owen, #remove the curse. Don't need to go on about it. You know what to do. Go over there and do it. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Michael Carrick. A bit of overshadowing, actually, in the last week or so with the announcement of Sanchez, obviously. Michael Carrick has signed a new contract, which is going to see him as a first-team coach and retiring at the end of the season. Now, we have lost a lot of experience out of the club in recent years, especially since Sir Alex left. Rio, Evra, Scholes, Giggs, all that experience. Michael Carrick is the last remaining winner of the 2008 Champions League winning side. It's going to literally be the end of an era once he hangs those boots up. Paul, what do you think he's going to bring to the first team coaching staff, and do you see him eventually being groomed for the chair himself?
I think that's a big shout at this point, and I'm not sure he necessarily
That's what we do, Paul.
carries...
We put balls on the line like this.
I'm not sure he necessarily carries the weight of personality required for a job like this. Carrick is a very... He was, obviously, we've all seen, he's a very cerebral player. And whenever you hear him talk about the game, he's thoughtful and insightful and interesting. Whenever you hear him talk about footballers, he has a real understanding of footballers, which I think will make him an invaluable asset as a coach. And you talked about the kind of massive loss of institutional knowledge that we've had since Ferguson retired. So many, the fabric of United has been kind of pulled out of the club in terms of the people who are the carriers of the torch of what it means to be United. And Carrick has at least part of that. I mean, he's been here for such a long time, and he straddled kind of almost half and half the era of success, a bit more time in the era of success compared to the era of struggles. But no, I mean, I think he's a really thoughtful man, and I would not be surprised at all if he's an excellent coach. He's exactly the kind of player you would expect to become a coach.
John, do you think we'll see him play again before the end of the season after his obviously his rumoured heart trouble, or confirmed heart trouble that he had? Do you think we'll see him in a United shirt again before the end of the season?
I definitely think we will definitely see him in action for, off a bench or another small game or something like that. Who knows? We might even see him for this game. But it's sad to see that he had to sort of be forced into retirement because of a health issue. But he's been a fantastic asset for the club. Like you mentioned, it's going to be an end of an era. It's going to be closing of the curtains for Sir Alex Ferguson's 2008 side. So, we have to pay homage. We have to give thanks to Michael Carrick while he's still here. And it's nice to see sort of senior players like Carrick, like Giggs, and all these players sort of be giving coaching roles alongside managers in our club. It not only helps these players sort of, get boosted into the sort of next stage in their careers. It shows a good precedent. It shows a good value for Manchester United's side to be able to say, you know what, look, we have our senior players. We want to give them our thanks. We want to give them our experience and our time and our value while we still can. So it's nice to see that.
Dave, we've lost a lot of experience, as we mentioned. Is there any players that have recently left the club that you'd actually love to see come and join Michael Carrick as part of the backroom staff? Bro.
Yeah, I think a lot of them would be good. I think someone like Paddy Evra, someone like a Rio Ferdinand would be good. Ferdinand obviously has other things to do at the moment. Of course, the class of '92 have kind of pulled themselves away at the moment with their own project, Salford City. But what I think with Michael Carrick is a thinker, and that's the biggest thing for a manager. You need somebody that thinks, that reads, that can make changes or put a style of football across to a side. And someone like Michael Carrick, I think, could communicate that. And his biggest asset was his intelligence. You go through that 2008 side, the most intelligent player on the pitch was Michael Carrick. In terms of coaching, it's all about intelligence. It's always about being in the right position at the right time, playing the right pass. Michael Carrick's done that. So to have him as a first-team coach is going to be great for the younger players coming through, for the likes of Paul Pogba, to help his positioning, to help him picking the right pass at the right time, to make him the complete player that he already is on the way to be. Adding something like Paul Pogba holding it deep in midfield could be another facet to his game. So it's really interesting. I'm really excited to see Carrick in this new role.
Let's stick with you then, Dave. Let's go with your starting 11 then for the Yeovil game. Are you picking Carrick and Pogba so we can learn off him a little bit hands-on?
I'm not, in fact. No, in my midfield, we'll go through the midfield first, just to change it up a little bit. Herrera, Lingard, Pogba.
Yeah, because the graphic starts at the goalkeeper and goes to the striker. It's a nice one for that, Dave. Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, cheers, guys. But first of course, De Gea in goal. I'm going to go with Lindelof, Smalling, Blind, and Shaw. That was sort of the back four that Mourinho played against Derby. I think the cup is going to be pretty big for Mourinho now. I think he's going to rotate, but he's still going to keep the big guys in there, just because. Obviously, exiting the League Cup early, no one wants to see that. We wanted to defend that trophy, but it happened. So we've got to move on. Now it's the FA Cup is the big one. Into midfield, of course, Herrera, Holding. I think that'll just be to get him the game time, giving Nemanja Matic a little bit of rest. Of course, Matic has played a load for United this season in terms of minutes. I think Lukaku and De Gea is the only player that's played more for Manchester United. Into midfield, of course, want to continue this sort of, these free eights, Lingard, Pogba, they're playing very well together. Then the front three, Alexis Sanchez on the right, Lukaku through the middle, and Marcus Rashford out left. So I think Rashford, again, with Martial, they sort of share that position. Martial's been so good in the league recently, scoring a load of top goals, but I think it's time for Marcus Rashford to get back into that starting lineup.
John, give it your start.
All right, guys. So this is gonna be my starting 11 that I picked. I sat here last night debating and contemplating who do I pick for my starting 11. So this is gonna be my starting 11. So I hope producer Chris kicks up the graphics. But I went Devin De Gea in goal with a back four of Lindelof, Smalling, Blind, and Shaw. I don't know why I picked Blind, but last night I must have been so fun. I thought, you know what, Blind must be the perfect pick for this side. I went with a midfield three of Herrera, Pogba, and Lingard. Now that kind of sounds pretty good. I think I must have made a good decision there. With a front three of Sanchez, Lukaku, and Rashford up top.
Nice team, John. Nice team, mate.
It's
a fantastic team.
Please show us what you hung up to right down the middle of the camera. Paul, what's your 11?
I mean, honestly, this is the best thing John has suddenly randomly done since he pulled out a massive tactics board. I think it's strange to suggest that David De Gea, Dave used the word obviously David De Gea would start. I think it's borderline obvious that Sergio Romero will start this game, given that Mourinho has been very keen to get Romero minutes when he can, and we're playing against Yeovil Town, and if we can't beat Yeovil without David De Gea, we've really got problems. And given that he played Romero in the Europa League final, the most important game in this club's history, according to him, then I think it's pretty likely Romero's going to play. Back four, this is just like throwing darts. The only one I'm in the least bit confident about is Shaw at left back. What's Shaw not start now? I went for Young at right back. I guess it could be Darmian, but who wants to see Darmian? Smalling and Tuanzebe, just because somehow from my heart I was desperately hoping that Axel Tuanzebe will play. He won't. It'll be like Lindelof and Rocco or whatever, but I went with heart over head. Midfield is much more head over heart. I can't believe. I'm shocked that Dave said obviously for Romero. I absolutely cannot believe we're playing like a League Two, the side that's 21st in League Two, and Dave didn't say we were going to play Maro and Fellaini in the midfield. Like, are you okay, Dave? Do you need
the impact stuff? Paul, he used to come off the bench whenever things are going bad. We call on Maro, big Maro, Scott's on. 91st minute, knocks in the winner. Everyone goes wild, and Fellaini again, the best player for Manchester United in their history.
So I've gone for Herrera because he needs game time. Pogba because I think he's like the most likely big name first team. Well, one of the two most likely big name first teamers that Mourinho will turn to, and Fellaini. And then up front, I've gone with Sanchez because I think, like I said earlier, I think with the Tottenham game on the horizon, it makes sense to play Sanchez in this one. Rashford, completely agree with Dave's argument there. Needs the game time. Martial's been absolutely wonderful, but Rashford's looked really short of confidence actually, and he's definitely in what if he was a Spanish player he would describe it as a difficult moment. He's struggling with form, and he's had some criticism from United fans, like not like analysis criticism, but actual stick. And it's like, what is wrong with you if you're giving Marcus Rashford stick for having like...
That's because Jesse Lingard's come good, so they needed a new scapegoat.
Yeah, right. But if you're choosing Marcus Rashford as your scapegoat for Man United, you've got a big problem and do not understand what it means to be a United fan. Like, that's really straightforward. But then, and I think he'll go with Lukaku up front because he loves to go with Lukaku up front.
Paul, let's stay with you then. Let's talk about Yeovil. Obviously not doing so well in the league at the moment.
Please, stay with me, yeah.
It's obvious time for a cup final moment here, isn't it, with Yeovil? Should we actually be... I'm not going to say worried. Worried's the wrong word, but cautious.
We should, but that's not about Yeovil. That's about us. If you think about the last time we went to Yeovil, that's one of the other reasons I picked Herrera, because of that incredible goal he scored there. But we really struggled in that game, and I think we then really struggled against Cambridge United immediately after that, if I remember rightly. Maybe that was even a draw. We have a pretty phenomenal capacity. We did it under Ferguson. Like, I remember going to some team on the South Coast. Maybe it was when we played Crawley, and he played like John O'Shea and Darren Gibson in midfield, and it did not work well at all. So I think it's not about Yeovil, it's about our capacity to look really disjointed when we're not on our game and all that kind of stuff. So that's the only thing that I'd worry about. In terms of the opposition, if they're genuinely causing us problems, then we're doing something really badly wrong, because this isn't just a League Two team. This is the team that finished 20th last season and sits 21st now. Yeovil are a very, very bad team. And that doesn't mean we're going to walk in there and beat them 5-0, because that is not often how it works. But yeah, no slope.
Wouldn't it be nice to actually turn up and absolutely just slap someone for a change?
Yeah, be great.
Which should be within our capabilities. John,
remember Northampton last season when we needed to bring on Zlatan to win the game?
John, do you have any idea where Yeovil is? Did you go to Yeovil while you was visiting England?
No, I did not.
Can't believe it was in your top 5 things to do, to be honest with you.
You told me
what do you know about Yeovil, mate?
Bristol, I think. But what I do know is that they're sitting 21st in League Two currently. But if I want to sort of play devil's advocate, we played against Bristol City, and they were sitting 3rd in the Championship. That also being said, Championship and League Two are complete different entities in all. So I think I completely agree with you guys. I think we really need to sort of, come out with a big, strong, defining statement, especially now that we're sort of going to be introducing Sanchez in one way or another. I think it needs to be a good performance nevertheless.
David, Yeovil, what do you think?
Again, they're beatable. They're so beatable, it's ridiculous. But again, it's something United may struggle with. Someone like Francois Zoko, sort of a journeyman target man, been going through the leagues in France, in Belgium, and in England, just playing for really bang average sides, not scoring many goals. But again, this season, he's top scorer for Yeovil. He could be someone that may cause United problem just with because he'll be awkward. He'll be, it's different to playing a striker that's a League Two striker that's physical, that's strong, than playing someone in the Premier League week in, week out. So it's just going to be a difficult test. And someone like Tuanzebe would be really nice to see Tuanzebe up against that, to see whether it would be worth for Tuanzebe to go out on loan for the rest of the season, to battle, to evolve his own game. So maybe it's, what sort of Paul was saying there, it could be a good opportunity to throw him in, but we've got to beat these guys. We've got to move them around with the ball, and the tempo's got to be good. When United, under Mourinho, when they decide at the start of the game, we're going to play with tempo, we're going to play fast passes, and we're going to zip the ball around, they dominate. But it's when it's slow, when it almost drops back to that Louis van Gaal, Manchester United, playing sideward passes, being too slow in the final third. We need to get the ball as quick as possible to either Marcus Rashford or Sanchez. It's simple as that. Old school United, central midfield, switch out. Central midfield, switch out. Move these teams from left to right, get them tired, and then bang, you're going to score a goal. It's not, it's not a difficult task, this. It has to be something that United just go into first gear, early goals, straight away, pressing from the front, aggressive, quick tempo, and then it's going to be simple.
You were just
Dave.
Oh, go on then.
Sorry.
Go on, Paul.
Dave, it's interesting. I was really glad to hear you mention pressing aggressively there, because it's almost like it's not our biggest problem when we're bad isn't even what we do with the ball. It's what we do when we don't have the ball. It's the one really big knock against Mourinho's time at United so far, I think, is how much he relies on that low block. And we sit in it so often. And maybe Sanchez's arrival will change that, because if ever there's a player built to press, it's Sanchez.
So the interesting side of Man United over the last 10 years, the best side is the 2008 side, Tevez and Rooney. They worked very, very hard and they pressed, but there was no systematic press there. It was literally that Rooney, Tevez would go, the rest of the team would come up, And I think that's similar to what United needs to do. Like you mentioned, this low block. There's no problem with putting a low block on the halfway line and pressing from that area. And with Sanchez that will go, the rest of the team will join in. And that is, for me, that's the biggest strength of Alexis Sanchez joining Manchester United, is that we will press better because he will go and everyone will join in. And consequently, United will win the ball higher, easy transitions. And it's simple, but it's something that Mourinho hasn't quite got at United yet. Like you mentioned, it's that pressing and that real aggression.
Right, we got some comments from you lot watching at home. We've got Axel says, Michael Carrick could become a good manager for Manchester United. I would love to see it, to be honest. Timothy says, United presently is capable of beating anybody. That's a little bit giddy, I think. But I think riding the high and the wave of the trip away to Dubai, putting together a solid run of form, signing a new player, let's keep the momentum going, because it is a momentum game, let's face it. News Route 1 says, what impact will Sanchez have on Martial's good form? Remains to be seen. A lot of people thinking he's going to start on the right. Some people think he's going to start on the left. Some people want to see him play down the middle as a number 10. So we will find out all in due course. I'm sure in the next couple of weeks we'll have a clearer idea. George Ford says, Vidic, Evra, Fletcher, Ferdinand O'Shea. I think he's talking about the experience that we have allowed to drain out of the club. There's only one thing left to do, and that is predict. Paul, give us your score prediction. Give us your first goal scorer as well.
All right. 2-0 United. Sanchez, first goal scorer.
There we go. Knew that was coming. John?
I'm going to go 2-0 as well.
Who's your first goal scorer?
I'm going to go
Do it.
Blind.
What?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, shit. Oh, wait. Hold on. No, I forgot to put this up and then say Blind.
Dave, score and first goal scorer.
First goal scorer, Marouane Fellaini off the bench in a 4-0 Manchester United win. Big impact from the big Belgian.
He's coming off the bench and we're going to win 4-0 and it's going to be 0-0 when he comes off the bench. All right, whatever. I'm going to go Paul Pogba and I'm going to say 3-0 Manchester United. And Sanchez is going to have a great debut and everyone's going to be absolutely buzzing before we go and play Spurs. Now, before you go, there's a couple of things that you need to do. One, you need to subscribe. You need to turn the notifications on because YouTube's being a bit of a dick at the moment and messing about everyone's little notifications things. The second thing you need to go and do is you need to go and check out our 100 Reasons to Hate Yeovil video, which Ian did, because it's absolutely hilarious. Then you need to check out all the fan cams and all the rest of that stuff on Friday night. We have got Mac in Yeovil. I think Yeovil's one of the grounds that you can actually watch the game from outside standing on the hill as well. So if you're in about Yeovil, maybe go and have a little sneaky sneak like that. Thank you for watching. Go give all these guys a follow on Twitter, apart from Paul, because he's hiding. And we will see you in the next one. Thanks for joining us. Laters.